Hello and good morning. Welcome to sunny Scotland. Not quite warm enough to take off my jacket, but close. So I'd like to talk to you today about slow living. Where do I start? Well, first of all, there's a couple of themes, not just slow living, also mindfulness and allowing the flames of your transformation in your life to burn away the old versions of you. So I guess that's 3 themes all in one video. Let's also say hello to Patch. Patch is super energized today, leading the way. Yeah, so first of all, the concept of slow living is new to me. I had seen the term maybe on people's hashtags on Instagram, or even showing up sometimes on YouTube search results. I can honestly say I've never watched a video until yesterday about slow living, and it's not a new concept by any means. One of the key aspects is slowing down, living a more slower pace of life and a more intentional, conscious and mindful. And the rest I feel like I will make up myself about my own definition of what that means. I reserve the right to make up my own definitions of everything. So it came up as a theme for me, and then also a recent client session. And I guess some of the recent themes you've seen with Patch is that he's about to do it right now, right? As soon as I speak, is he constantly stops and wheezes every few meters. He's actually made it quite far today without doing so. Almost 20 meters before his first stopping and weeing. And he's scenting, right? Like he's on his mission. He's constantly stopping, and it's a productive walk for him, right? Like the more he can stop and scent, I guess. And I'd like to talk about some of the it's such a funny subject. Some of the things I've been slowing down in my life. Well, first of all, my workload. Just constantly seeking that right balance. Patch has stopped again. That perfect balance of the harmony of work, like doing, constantly creating stuff, creating videos like this, and creating music, creating meditations, creating training course material, doing client sessions, all the doing parts of my life. And then there's the receiving aspect. So Patch is already now receiving a new sense. I think we're actually walking backwards. And that's powerful too, right? Because what it means is that in the receiving part, we're able to receive a lot more than we can necessarily, create in a given moment. Morning, hiya. So one example would be being able to receive inspiration for something new, or receive a realization or an epiphany, a life-changing message, realization in your life. I often get these or most commonly get them when I'm out and about, or if I'm in nature, which I spend quite a lot of time in nature, and also just when I'm out of like my comfort zone into more joy. And like this morning, creating a music video and song by the Dons, 2 Don Binnies, which was double the fun. I'm Don Binnie. A lot of fun. Fun fact is, my son was convinced for years that the Don Binnie was a different guy, that it was not me, and he couldn't believe how similar this guy looked to me. My son is still quite embarrassed about it, which is really funny. And if I talk about some of the other things that I've done in my life to slow down, and a theme of slowing down, like simplification. We can be busy bees, buzz, 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 in our lives, right? We can be doing all the things, running around in our busyness. And I love that. I love that the thing that makes the kind of world go round with in our money systems is business or busyness. And it's like somehow we're rewarded for just being really busy, which is like the opposite of slowing down, right? Just picking up what patch is left. It's funny, after he drops presents for me on the ground, he then tries and runs off afterwards, almost like he wants to get away from the smell while I pick it up. But yeah, business is such a funny term. We can think of better terms, right? Please put your alternatives for business into the comments. Busyness. And here we go again, stopping. So one of the things, some simple tips are, go through all your subscriptions, right? Go through all the things that you pay out regularly, loans, debts, even interest-free loans, subscriptions to apps, online services. A top tip, if you're signing up for new ones, is to immediately cancel them, so that you really do take advantage of any free trials. And I still keep an eye out for them. I still check thoroughly every month. I like dive in and like, is there anything that's creeped in? Is there something I've forgotten? Because these are like the energy leaks, right? And why be extra busy in your busyness, busyness of all aspects of your life, to pay for something you're not even consciously using, right? Like to pay for those leaks. The other thing is, I'm very grateful and delighted that my wife and our family were able to become debt-free. And having zero debt is very liberating. It's definitely a slower, simpler life. And energetically, it means there's no contracts where I owe some other person or organization money. So that includes no mortgage, no credit cards, loans or interest-free loans, no nothing, no store cards, like nothing at all. And the closest I have now is a monthly payments for my car insurance, my camper van insurance. I could have paid it annually, but actually, did I? I think I maybe did pay it annually. Oh, I probably don't even have that anymore. Oh well, that was the closest I would have had. So yeah, I think it went for annually because when you cancel it, they give you money back. Whereas if it's one of these agreements where it's kind of like a monthly payment which is done over finance for insurance, then you often owe them money when you cancel it. So it's like, I don't want to do that. I think it was like £70 when we sold our last moto. It was like, I'm not saying I'm selling my camper van, but just in case, I don't want to pay that £70. And then other things in our homes, right? So decluttering, tidying up. We've got decluttering coming up as we're getting solar panels installed. It's going to take up more of our tiny little garage for, like it's really small, like you can fit like, 2 or 3 bicycles in it. And even then it'd be difficult to get in and out. So we're going to clear out even more of that, likely the weekend before the install happens. And it's just one less thing to to worry about. And then there are some examples of where simplification, or independence and simplification, can be more challenging. I just really love this tree. And sometimes when you're simplifying something or attempting to, you accidentally make things more complicated. So we were looking at a solar heat pump. Or air source heat pump as they're called, to replace our boiler, but we later discovered that our gas boiler is actually quite new. It's just a few years old. It has only been in maybe 3 years before we bought the home a couple of years ago, which we didn't know. And actually it would have created additional complexity in the short term, but I suspect in the long term, maybe after that boiler, we would replace it. And that would allow us to remove gas from our house and just run everything off electric, which would be simpler. We also sold our car. That's coming up on a year ago now. That was simpler because I didn't have to choose different vehicles. I'm the only driver in our family, so choosing different vehicles between them and juggling them around in the driveway just seemed like a kind of nonsensical complication in life. And yeah, even simple things like just managing your calendar each day. I'm definitely constantly focusing on simplification, and one of them is I'm discovering I quite like doing back-to-back sessions, probably no more than 3 in a day, and likely fewer over time. So I definitely like just bring together some of those patterns where I've been doing things like I'd be taking an hour and then I'd be doing half-hour breaks. Morning. And so half-hour breaks for hour sessions for me is actually quite long. I actually quite like going almost straight into the next one, and then you likely have a longer evening as a result. So that's a bonus. That's simpler. And also more of you, I think this week so far, so we're on Wednesday, more of you have been signing up or requesting conversions from Zoom sessions to recorded only sessions, and they prove to be ever popular. So I've done 2 already this week. Gives me greater flexibility on the actual start time. Well, that tends to be around with half an hour or an hour or so, but gives me the flexibility to do it any time that day, especially if something comes up, and to get into greater depth. And I would maybe there's a simplification on my social battery as well, if you like. It's a funny concept, a social battery, but there's no small talk when it's just me, but I do talk a lot with your guides and your higher self, and it's always really wonderful. I feel like I get to know people so well after just an hour session, because we go into such beautiful depth. And I also love the Zoom online sessions. So, and I think what I'm saying is, if you're interested in slowing your life down, then seeking simplification is one way of doing it. And in that seeking, imagine it like exploring, so exploring different things. I also mentioned earlier the mindful aspects. There's definitely a huge mindful aspect to my consciously living, and I wanted to share a quote from my dear beautiful wife, which she said to me the other day. I think it was over the weekend, and I was talking a bit about the amount of money that I earn through my business, and she said very firmly, very confidently, when I talked about the amount of money that I feel I need to earn, she said, you'll always earn enough, and likely more than enough, because we'll always seek simplification in our lives. As she called it, she just said simpler living. We're always trying to simplify our living. And it's such a fascinating thing, right? My interpretation of that, I know there's many themes, including those that I've just touched on, but one of those was to spend less. Spend less so you don't need to earn as much, and not in a frugal way, or should I say, in a conscious spending way, and frugality is part of that. But no, I don't mean like austerity, like not, taking huge cuts in the different things that we spend, that we enjoy, especially. So, whether that's food or eating out, going on camping adventures, like not scrimping on that, but equally, whenever we have to spend more on something, consciously doing so. One big thing I found really helpful is when I'm shopping especially online shopping, I'll just put products in the basket for often a few days, and it allows that kind of dopamine spike to, in many respects, kind of be avoided, because I almost envisage my bank balance minus the amount that I'm about to spend or not, and it gives me in the moment a much more conscious decision. So it's a much slower way of purchasing. It also helps me. One thing I do more is window shop. And for example, I've been window shopping for new upgrades to the electric system in our camper van, which would make it much better for longer, easier to manage, simpler to manage, and would be much more kind of durable for longer camping trips. And I know, and I said this to my wife, I said, all I'm going to do is choose the different things, the different kind of products that I'd like as part of that system, not necessarily clinging to a brand or a price, and just to keep an eye on them. And this could take a couple of years before I actually make the decision and buy something, and, within which time prices will come down for the existing products for sure, especially the cost of batteries, and that was one of the big purchases. Also new technologies like sodium. I think is it graphene as well? These alternatives to lithium, they will become more popular, and their prices will come down. So this is also part of like longer term thinking and spending, and without really clinging, like just being flexible and without clinging to the outcomes, and without somehow believing that I need it now. And then for just allowing your old life to burn away, it was a really powerful meditation today. And it's like, burning away all those subscriptions that you've had, all those debts that you've had, seeking ways to consciously come out of debt, even when, and don't get me wrong, I've been in debt most of my life, like from the age of 18 through to just this year. It was just earlier this year that we became debt free. So decades of debt, and there's been a lot of times that's really helped me and my wife and my family, especially when I had to borrow my first £100 to almost rent a suit for my first job, and that took just months and months and months to pay off. These are conscious decisions to make as well. And I'm not saying don't use debt or don't use credit cards, etc. But begin a journey, encouraging you to begin a journey of conscious spending of your time and your money and your energy. And one thing I'm definitely going to reflect on more in my monthly reflections, maybe I'll add it as an update to my future vision, is this concept of like the currency of energy and time. Having, as you can tell, money is important still to exist, especially in this 3D Western world, but it's absolutely not everything. And there's great opportunities to be able to simplify and to focus more on health, happiness, energy, clear energy, and having lots of time to do all the things you love. Well, I hope this finds you well. Let me know if you have any experiences of slow living or any of these experiences that I've been sharing today. Thank you so much. Sending love.